The best of Money Matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. In Singapore, families of children with developmental needs often face long waiting lists, fragmented services, and a lack of personalized support. For many parents, their journey can feel isolating and overwhelming. That's the gap. Bridging the Gap was created to address. Founded by Janice Tay, a mother who experienced these challenges firsthand, the center offers a holistic, hands-on approach to early intervention. Through tailored programs that include speech and occupational therapy, educational support, and school readiness training, Bridging the Gap empowers children to thrive in a nurturing, structured environment. And to share more about the programs they offer and the difference they're making for families, joining us today is Janice Tay, founder and clinical director of Bridging the Gap. Hi, Janice. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Janice, your journey with Bridging the Gap started from a deeply personal place, a mother trying to find the right support for your son, Emmanuel. So tell us more about that. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced, navigating the early intervention system here in Singapore, which led you to create Bridging the Gap?
Sure. So Emmanuel was born premature at 32 weeks, and he was diagnosed with global developmental delay when he was 2. We were then thrown into this system that was very, very overwhelming. So at that time, hospitals did provide good therapy services, but the frequency was like once a month only due to the long wait list. We were then advised by hospital to seek private services if we could afford it, as more regular and intensive therapies would definitely benefit Emmanuel better. However, they were quite fragmented. We couldn't find a one-stop service. So logistically was a big challenge. So speech therapy here, occupational therapy there, and, different kinds of therapies everywhere. And there was no collaboration between professionals. So as a parent, I was kind of like left to fill in the gaps, constantly questioning if I was doing the right thing or am I doing enough for my son. So what I really needed was an integrated, a very child-focused space where therapists could work together as a team and we families were supported. Okay. But I couldn't find that at that time. And I think one area that really frustrated me was he performed well during therapy sessions, but his preschool teachers felt otherwise. So I was constantly receiving negative feedback about his behavior in school. There was no transferring of skills learned in this therapy setting to his daily routine. Hence I left my career in finance and took up courses to learn and understand my son's condition and know how to support him. Wow. So I'm a Christian and I also took up Bible ministry for self-healing because at that time, when this struck me, I frequently faced a lot of judging eyes for my poor parenting due to my son's behavior in public. He was sometimes having meltdowns in public. So I had this judgment and then complaints from school. So I felt very rejected. I was so hurt and bitter. So sometimes I also feel guilty, questioning myself what I had done wrong. So because of all these challenges that I faced, that's when the vision for Bridging the Gap began. So we wanted to create an inclusive environment to help every child to integrate back to society. Amazing. So I found my purpose in life, and I didn't have a background in business at that time, but what I had, something I thought was powerful, was a mother's love, a mission, and a belief that change was possible. That's how Bridging the Gap was birthed.
So you're really showing how strong a mother's love can be, and you really took matters into your own hands by, creating the center. I mean, it offers everything from speech and occupational therapy to school readiness and social skills training. So, Janice, walk us through how all of these services come together. I mean, what does a typical journey look like for a child at your center, and how do you help determine which is the right program for the child?
Okay, so at our center, all our services, speech therapy, occupational therapy, educational therapy, social skills training, school readiness, etc., they are all designed to work together in a coordinated, very child-centered way. So every child begins their journey with us through an initial assessment. So this helps us to understand their developmental profile, what their strengths were, which area they may need more support, and then from there we design a personalised program, which might include a mix of individual therapy sessions, and small group intervention in our classroom setting. So what really sets us apart is how closely our team works together. Our therapists and early interventionists, we collaborate to ensure that skills taught in one setting are reinforced in another. So on top of that, we also organize workshops for parents to come together and learn. So most importantly, for them to know that they are not alone in this journey and they make friends through this and find emotional support. So then we also collaborate with preschool teachers to ensure that the skills our children learn are generalized in different settings. So we share with them strategies, some classroom accommodations they can make to better include and integrate our children into mainstream setting.
Okay. So your early intervention program sounds incredibly comprehensive as well, with multidisciplinary support that includes speech therapy, OT, educational therapy, and social skills training. Help us break down what this early intervention program looks like in practice. How is it structured week to week?
Sure. So our early intervention program is really the heartbeat of what we do. So it's designed for preschool age children who need extra support in areas like communication, sensory processing, motor skills, learning, social development. So in practice, our program runs multiple times a week in 3-hour sessions. So during these sessions, children take part in very structured yet dynamic routine that blends therapy and classroom learning. So just to give you an idea how a session looks like, so we have like a sensory play to expose children to various mediums and textures to support their sensory integration as well as to build their pretend play skills and fine motor skills. Then we have circle time to promote language development, social interaction, turn-taking, waiting, and group learning. We have like table work, which focuses on literacy, numeracy, cognitive skills, and handwriting. There is also gross motor play in the gym to develop their balancing skills, their coordination and motor planning. And also we also have individual or small group therapy sessions like speech and OT embedded into our routine. So we use thematic-based learning. So for example, if like currently our team is animals, so we explore that through songs, books, sensory materials, and even in the gym. So this approach gives the child multiple ways to engage with the same concepts across different mediums. So what's important is that our team of therapists and early interventionists, they work closely together. So for example, like a goal set in speech therapy is initiating a request. So it's practiced not just during the clinical session, but also throughout the whole routine, in our setting. So internally, we have weekly meetings to track our children's progress and adjust the plan accordingly. So some children attend 3 days a week or 5 days a week, depending on their needs and readiness. It's intensive, but it's also very engaging because we are not just targeting their developmental delays. We are also building their confidence, connection, and the skills they need to thrive.
Right. And you mentioned you focus on things like sensory processing and fine motor skills as well. How does occupational therapy play a role in helping children function more independently in daily life?
Sure. So, for example, we work on fine motor skills like grasping pencil using scissors or buttoning a shirt. So these are the building blocks for writing, dressing, and feeding. Okay. So we also addresses gross motor skills like balancing, coordination, and strength through fun activities like climbing or through obstacle courses. So one major area, especially in occupational therapy, is sensory processing. So some children, they get easily overwhelmed by touching, noise, or even movement. So others can be quite under-responsive and constantly seeking input. So our therapists help these children to regulate their responses so that they can participate meaningfully without becoming overstimulated or even shut down. So we work on self-care routines like brushing teeth, putting on shoes. So very important area is the social emotional regulation, how to help them to manage their frustration, waiting for turn or cope with transition. So this is like a part of what an OT session is about. Then, and also in terms of like school readiness. So OT supports like to help them improve their attention, their body awareness, and ability to sit and engage in classroom activities. So every child is very different, so it's all individualized, but the goal is the same, to equip them with that everyday life skills so that they will become more confident and independent.
Okay, and it seems like educational therapy is another pillar of your center and one that's often misunderstood. How does educational therapy work in your center? Is it about helping kids catch up academically, or is it more, foundational than that?
Okay, educational therapy is often confused with tuition, but it's actually quite different. So at our center, educational therapy is about helping children learn how to learn. So it's not just focused on their grades or content revision. It's about building their foundational skills that make learning possible. So our sessions are delivered in small supportive settings by trained educational therapists. So we customize every child's learning plan based on their profile, including their attention span, their sensory profile, their learning style, and emotional regulation. So we use multi-sensory methods. So instead of like rote kind of memorization. So we might use games, movement, or manipulative to teach a concept. So we also work on cognitive skills like memory, focus, and problem solving, and teach strategies for time management and self-organization. So most importantly is educational therapy helps children understand why they struggle, and it gives them tools to overcome these challenges. So it's to empower them. And many children begin to feel more confident and motivated, and more importantly is, less anxiety going to school.
That's very, very nice. Well, I've also noticed that you run a bully-proof program, which I've really never heard of in other centers. What exactly is this bully-proof program, and how does it support children who may be more vulnerable in social settings?
This is a unique collaboration between Bridging the Gap and a certified jujitsu instructor. So it was designed especially for children aged 5 to 13 who may be more vulnerable in social settings, especially those with developmental or communication challenges. So we introduced Bully Proof because unfortunately bullying is very real in schools, and our children are often among those most affected. So many avoid school out of fear, and we wanted to change that by giving them tools, not just to defend themselves, but to carry themselves with confidence. So basically this program focuses on 3 core pillars like awareness, knowing how to recognize the difference between teasing and bullying so that they know when and how to act. Confidence, to help our children build self-confidence so that they no longer appear like easy targets, and also responsibility. So this is not about aggression. We don't teach our children to punch, to kick. Instead, we teach them verbal kind of like being very assertive and non-violent self-defense techniques based on control and leverage. So one of the rules that we teach our children is avoid the fight at all costs, and only defend yourself if you're physically attacked. So it's to really empower them to be assertive and confident.
To really stand up for yourself at the end of the day, right? Well,
yes,
I
exactly.
mean, it looks like you have a great program that you're offering at Bridging the Gap here. What has been the feedback been like from, parents as well as children?
The feedback, right. Okay, so for our parents, I think a lot of them, they really like, I would say that they tend to gravitate towards speech and language therapy. So because speech is the main concern. When your child is struggling to speak, unable to follow instructions or express themselves, that can be very worrying. So our therapists work on everything from building vocabulary to developing social communication and even understanding nonverbal cues. So the feedback we often get from parents is how emotional it is to hear their child's first meaningful word or finally be able to tell them what they need. So these moments are really very touching. And, we just celebrate every little achievement, with our parents. Yeah, then another program that parents also kind of value is our school readiness program, where they are especially concerned about whether their child can cope in a mainstream school. So this program focuses on preparing children, not just academically, but also socially and emotionally. So parents, they feedback to us, like after a few months, their children enjoying school, they look forward to going to school, something that they never imagined possible. And I think this is really very heartening to hear that them telling us, oh, my child likes to go to school now, and teachers feedback that he can follow instructions better, able to engage better. So this is a very heartening to hear that.
It is very heartening to hear. Well, thank you so much, Janice, for joining us and sharing more about Bridging the Gap today.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. That was Janice Tay, founder and clinical director of Bridging the Gap. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.